Well, hi everyone. Today I want to share with you my personal story. Some call it a story of survival, but for me it's a story of courage, passion and love. And it consists of 3 journeys. The first one starts in June 1989 when 360,000 Bulgarians of Turkish ethnicity were asked to immigrate from Bulgaria to Turkey. It's also called the Big Excursion, and it is actually the second largest migration since Second World War. And it marked the end of the assimilation process that was carried out against the Turkish ethnicities living in communist Bulgaria at the time. I was exactly 11 years old when I was among those 360,000 Turkish Bulgarian immigrants. And I actually remember standing there at the border with my younger brother, our parents, and nothing else, only 2 suitcases. That was the only belonging we had. No money, no place to go, and nothing that we knew actually. I looked around me and I could see the despair in my mother's eyes. And I saw the confusion, the excitement, the panic all around me. And in that very moment, as an 11-year-old standing at the border in Turkey, I made a decision that if one day I want to do anything with my life, I would have to get a good education. Well, looking around me, it didn't look like I could because we were set up to live in immigrant camps and free food was given to us. And after some time staying at the immigrant camp, we actually found a truck driver who would take us back to Istanbul. It took us 2 days and 2 nights traveling on top of the truck. And we somehow got to this city that was very confusing, I have to tell you. Because all my life growing up, I was told that I was Turkish and that I spoke Turkish. By the time we got to Istanbul, all of a sudden, none of the local Turks could understand us. We were actually apparently speaking a dialect. And in that moment, I actually understood what my grandfather used to meant when he said, immigration is like wearing a shirt made of fire. It was a very difficult period in our lives. Mostly, not only because we didn't have any money, we didn't have a place to go. My parents didn't exactly have a job at the time, but from the fact that it was a confusion of identity in a way. When I started school, I could barely speak Turkish and I would be told to go home. But where was home? Eventually, we settled in the ghetto of Istanbul. My parents worked, my mother worked as a cleaner, my father as a welder and also illegal cab driver on the weekends and double shifts. Many nights we would go to bed without any food and it would be extremely cold because we couldn't afford any heating. But something magical would happen in those cold nights because I would retreat into a world that didn't exist. Well, I was 11 years old and I saw myself as a princess. I had long hair and I could eat any food I wanted. And I was traveling the world. And I saw myself also graduating from university, being surrounded by my family. And to be honest with you, it is what kept me going forward because I believed in a world that my eyes didn't see. And I believed in something that was not real. I believed in the unseen. And I had faith. And when you make a decision, when I look back now, I can tell you that when you make a decision, when you have faith, when you believe in magic and you believe in the unseen, that vision can pull you forward from whatever situation you may find yourself in. Very shortly afterwards, we immigrated. The Berlin Wall came down, and as you know, that was the end of socialist regimes. Communism ended in Russia, in Eastern European countries, and all of a sudden, all those people living in former communist regimes now could become entrepreneurs. Many of them actually started to come to travel to Laleli. This is an area in Istanbul, And many of them would come, they would buy leather, textile, whatever products they could find, and they would take everything back in their luggage to their countries, sell them in market stalls, and then come back again. So because we spoke the languages that all these Eastern European, Russian people were from, my parents actually found work as sales associates. They would sell textile and leather to those newly coming entrepreneurs from Russia and Eastern Europe. I worked as a translator. I was about 14 years old at the time. And my brother would go into the street in order to basically get any customers that he could find and lure them into the store where my parents were working. My second journey takes place when I was 22. Well, I did graduate from university. I received a scholarship to go to University of Miami, and I stood at the podium getting my diploma from Quincy Jones, no less, and I graduated as cum laude with 4.0 GPA, and I had a very promising career path offered to me by Morgan Stanley. But when I was standing at that stage, I made a decision that it was time for me to go back to Istanbul. I didn't want to take the profession that was offered to me. I didn't want to stay in the States because something interesting had happened at the time. When I was a student, university student in Miami, I was obviously for the first time in the States, I actually saw something that was, an idea was born in me. I saw that every single business around me in the States was small at some point. They started very small and nobody did anything on their own. So I thought to myself, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start our own family business. That was my idea. And I basically gathered my belongings and went back home. Again, I had a vision. And I did exactly what I was taught in business school. I have a business degree, and I gathered my family around and everyone who believed in my vision. And at that time, it was my family and people actually who we were selling some products to in the Laleli area. And I explained my vision to everyone. So we had obviously no capital, nothing, just an idea, just a vision. I was also working from my days as a translator. I would travel to Italy and I already knew suppliers in Italy. And perhaps because I was a teenager, I had developed a very close, warm relationship with the Italian suppliers. So I did what I was taught in business school. I created something of value. I sold it to people who needed it. And I did it much better quality than any of my competitors. And I sold it at cheaper prices than them. So this is what they teach you in business school. But what they don't teach you and what I later explored in my own research is altruism. Because I had nothing except the fact that people who believed in me and the vision. So I would go back to the suppliers and to Italy, and I would ask them for extra skins of leather. And I would explain what I wanted to do. And we got together and created our very first collection. And then to the people I knew from the Lalel area, especially the Eastern European Russian entrepreneurs, I would tell them, just take my products, 5 wallets. You don't have to pay me anything. Just take them, sell them back in your country, and then you can bring me the money. And this is an incredible level of trust because they may never come back. And that's my only sample at the end of the day. But taking risk works and believing in yourself, having a vision. But more than that, realizing that we is much more powerful than I. Nobody does anything on their own. You do not finish university on your own. You don't write a thesis on your own. You don't even cook on your own. You need other people to help you with it. We started our business, and today these are our figures. And I know it's written full-time employees, But to me, they are hearts. They are not employees. I see them as hearts, every single one of them. From day one, the very same employees who started working with us are in the business today with us. And this is, for me, the biggest pride. And it actually what keeps me moving forward. Because at the end of the day, was it easy to create this? Obviously not. Nothing is ever easy. And I had many setbacks in life. Many people said no to the product. Many people refused to buy it. Many people wouldn't even want to see it. And from personal to professional setbacks, you name it, I experienced it. But I have, and I think that's how the entrepreneur mind works. I have something within me where I say yes to myself, no matter how many times other people would no matter how many times I would hear no, I say yes to myself. And I think that's one of the keys to success, because you need to first say yes to yourself. You need to first believe in your own vision so that other people can believe in you. But in order to be able to say yes to yourself, you also need to have something within you that keeps you alive. And that something is, some of us call it passion, purpose. And funnily enough, when I've been lecturing, my students would always ask me, my friends would always ask me, but how do I find my purpose? What keeps me alive? How do you find that? I have to be very lucky, and I have to go through the situations that you've gone through in order to find it. Well, that's not true, first of all. However, that question, when they ask me, how do you know what keeps you alive? It propelled me to look for the answer, because it is a very good question. The answer to it came to me very unexpectedly, and at a time when I actually didn't expect it would come to me. It was my third journey, age 33. I experienced a very, to me, personal and professional setback at the age of 33. By that time, I had finished my PhD at Cambridge. I have published more than 10 research papers. I was an author of a book. I was lecturing in top universities in London, and I was living in my favorite city in the world, London. And my business was actually going well. But one night, everything changed, because I realized I was at a crossroad, and I needed to step up to the plate. And overnight, I packed my bags again. And once more, I moved from London to Istanbul. And I have to tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. One of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. And perhaps because I was older, perhaps because I was leaving a city I really loved, it was incredibly difficult. But it gave me the answer to the question, what keeps you alive? Because I believe every single one of us has a destiny, has a purpose, but it is up to you whether you step up to the plate or not. It is up to you whether you respond to that, to what is being asked of you. And only then you can discover what keeps you alive. Because until you answer that, you will not feel it. And it doesn't take magic, it doesn't take unbelievable circumstances for you to discover it. It only means you need to be aware in the present moment. That can only happen right now. In every moment, you are given an opportunity. And in that moment, you can accept what the present moment looks like, good or bad. Our mind calls it good or bad. It is what it is. You accept it, embrace it, and if you need to act on it, you need to act on it. And that's when your real journey is going to begin, because your real journey will not begin until you decide to get up, step up, and live your life fully from your heart. Thank you.